is everything so damn expensive?
Y'all know what kills me? I cannot leave the house without spending $300.
Coffee. A 12-pack of soda of any flavor, every variety, is now $8 to $9 for a 12-pack of soda. This, which I ended up getting, was $3.50.
Like I'm drowning. Financially drowning.
$1,200. $1,200 is what we have spent on groceries.
I almost sold my couch this week to make ends meet.
My taxes went up 26.83%.
And we're talking about like get financially educated. How would you do that? Like what are you guys' answers? How do we do that?
I learned by experience. Okay, like when somebody's saying there's not enough money and why I'm work, like I experienced that. Like my family was well off, but I didn't see any share of that. I had to make my own way. And like the first big venture I did was I took everything I had, which was not much. I bought this house it was a crazy risk. I bought this house that you couldn't even walk through, and I fixed it up and flipped it. And when I did that, I filed the taxes for it. And that was the first time I ever had to, because if you don't have a big capital gain like that, you don't know how the tax laws work. And what I realized was, man, if I had made, like if you make $30,000, $40,000 a year working at McDonald's, you're going to be paying $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 in taxes. If you make $30,000, $40,000 capital gain selling your house, selling a stock, selling property, you're paying zero. And it's at that moment when I read that and I realized, wow, I'm not going to have a tax bill, but I made all this money off flipping the house for a profit, right? Like,
smart decision.
I realized, wait, the system is incentivized against workers. And you could get confused, you could get angry, you could feel despair, like all those emotions in the video. Or you could get smart, or you could just realize this is the way the system works. Like, I'm not going to change it. Like whatever. I was in the what was it called, the Occupy protest. I was there with my guitar and whatever on the blah blah blah. Like that didn't change shit. Like we're not gonna change the system. So you have to play ball.
No, I'm never a proponent of the Occupy thing. There's too many people in there that have the luxury of occupying, while the real poor people are trying to figure out how to pay for bread. They're not in the Occupy. It's usually a guy with a guitar. Oh, wait a second. That was you playing music.
No. Well, listen, I could relate to the woman that was like, I have 3 jobs and can't pay my rent. Like, that's been me like 10 years ago. Yeah, for sure. And the solution isn't to complain about it. The solution is to figure out, well, how do I cut this down to 1 job or 0 jobs and make the same amount or more money? Because it's doable.
It's a one way, like experience. The second way, if we're talking about, okay, government, what can do a country for us? Of course, to make it mandatory at school from the beginning. The third way is like parents. If parents like really into educate a child, they should say, okay, this is how you save your money. This is your pocket money. This is that, this is that. And again, now, lucky us, we have online. I hope everyone, I don't know, maybe not 100%, but a lot of people have an access to the internet, except Afghanistan, sorry. But they can go online, even easiest way. Dear ChatGPT or any other AI tool, please give me some source, finance for dump, finance for beginners. How can I be educated in this way?
Yeah, people have unlimited access to more resources than ever now, right?
You shouldn't be bachelor degree, master degree in finance. You have all tools in the line.
I'm not arguing for people who don't want to work. I'm not arguing for them, right? But I think their perspective becomes more important because they are the majority. And they're going to start influencing incredible policy and who they put in office and and they're the ones that are going to be disruptive to society. There was this book I read called The Worldly Philosopher, and it was one line in it that stuck with me my entire life. It said one of the key components to economics in the Western world is how to keep the poor poor. And I was like, what the hell does that mean? And then you start thinking about it. This whole, Western economics is based on having wealthy people and then having a lot of poor people because they, fill the jobs nobody wants to do. They will do the things that, other people in society don't want to do. So it's a very sad statement, And when we talk about like just go to internet. I mean, there's people that don't have computers. They don't have access. They might go to a library, but they're shutting libraries down in a lot of places. They don't have access to ChatGPT. They don't even have the understanding of how to use these technologies. And I'm not a proponent of saying, let's just like give everybody money and give them a salary for $1,000 or raise minimum wage to like this crazy level because the market forces determine where the math has to be. I'm just saying we got to be a little more thoughtful. If not, we're going to have like a collapse, which you're seeing in a lot of places in the Western world where the people who are disadvantaged are coming back and saying, this is not right. This is not what I signed up for. And if you're smart, you better listen, is my point.
You're right. I think a lot of it is, nobody should be working a job, right? And not be able to make the ends meet. Like, people shouldn't have to get a second job if they're already working full time. But should is not how the market force and economy works. Like there's a value in the market for a certain skill, a certain role, and that changes every year. And people need to upskill. Like, it starts at base one. It starts with education, and now with AI, a lot more jobs are going to be redundant. And like, it's about accepting that reality and moving on from it. And I know it's hard to hear for a lot of people that have been at their jobs a long time. It's not easy. The system is rigged, and like I was saying, just things like the tax code, like capital gains tax is so low, and then you work at McDonald's for the same salary and you're paying a big tax bill, and the person that had capital gain, things like that is what people need to, but people don't know about that. No, you have no reason to know about that unless you made a capital gain and filled out the form and saw,
Well,
whoa.
explain, how do you make a capital gain?
Make a capital gain, you buy a house, let's say for
You buy an
100,000.
asset.
You buy
So
an
100,000.
asset and you
Here's
sell
the
it for
guy with
120, right?
I know, but
So
they don't even have the ability because they need a home for themselves, and then to take advantage of capital gain, you need to be wealthy.
no,
You
yeah,
need,
that's not my point. I'm not saying that people need to start making capital gains. I'm saying they need to understand that's how the system is set up. And the real way to change things is to flip that. If you really wanted to change to alleviate these people's suffering, you would do the opposite. You would not tax labor and you would tax capital gains at a higher rate. It would be inverted to the way it is. So you would have a systemic change, is what I'm saying. But
I
like,
think that I don't.
if people don't know about that, they cannot demand that, right? Who knows about capital gains? Who's benefiting from capital gains? The people that have the ears of the policymakers and that are influencing policy, right?
Yeah, but
You're not
I don't like I like the fact that you've got like a job to me is transitory. Like, so when you start off with a minimum wage job, that is not the place you should stay. You should be elevating and moving through the pipeline, right? And then the other end of the pipeline is owning assets, and the other end is building wealth, right? That's a necessary path. So I don't think reversing it is the right thing. I think I need that path. I follow that path, right? I started off with grunt jobs and no jobs and kept building, but I didn't stay in those jobs. I kept, moving through the ranks until finally I could leave that pipeline and start a pipeline of building businesses and wealth. I think that promise has to be, because if not, you're not going to have exceptional people. If you're not going to be
there's no
exceptional, you're going to
motive.
say there's
Yeah.
no motive. A lot of countries are bandying with like paying them this lifetime salary or monthly salary, but we need people to get us on Mars. We need people to like figure out how to like contact alien life. We need people to figure out how to solve massive problems. And that pipeline is super important for that. Scarcity is good. It makes you work harder. You know, uh, it, it's great for you because you want more out of life, and that's what pushes the human speed.
Motivation. But
Yeah,
it
The,
you
should
the,
be
need
like
it.
the,
healthy motivation, not just I want to survive and that's
No,
why I've just developed and became stronger and which in any direction, but something like yes, you should constantly improvement, development, and you should understand that your education is not stopped with school.
yeah.
the flip side, there is a downside, which is what we saw, the emotions in that video: despair, confusion, people working hard, not getting ahead. There's always been a dark side of capitalism. From back in, Oliver Twist's day, you had child labor and children in the factories, and you have to regulate capitalism. You have to put rules, and that was one that everybody said as a society, listen, we don't want 5 and 6 year olds working in these factories, mining coal or whatever they were doing. And now you can't do it. And now it's funny because now it's normal to get a job at 13, 14, 15. They've loosened that since the 70s or whatever. And it's like, okay, like there's certain rules you need to come and impose regulation on capitalism. But who do they elect? Trump, the promises deregulation and delivers on deregulation, right? So it's
Are
like,
you saying Trump is going to bring back child labor? Is that what you're
no,
saying?
no, no. But I'm just saying, like, you're elected somebody that is a
Uh,
champion of deregulating industry, and he's doing it, starting with Bitcoin, right? And it's like capitalism unconstrained will just be evil. It will just allocate the scarcest resources, like you said, to the people with the most money, and like you have to have human intervention to regulate the capitalism. One of the ways that modern society has kind of gotten askew or awry is it has not accounted for, the people that are working so hard every day and not making the ends meet, and they're still in debt, and then it's easy to blame them for it, but I think it's more of a systemic problem. I don't think it's a bootstrapping problem. I think this is the system that we're in, and people, not everybody can see how to get ahead in it. They're stuck in a job, they have 3 kids that they can barely make the next month's rent and so forth, and they just can't see how to get out of that loop, that cycle, and maybe they never will. So government needs to step in and do something more than $2,000 dividend checks or whatever he's talking about. Like government. I don't know. I don't have all the solutions, but government needs to step in and make sure that, okay, if people want to succeed, that they have the tools and ability and means to reach that success, whatever it is, through government programming. Roosevelt employed 15 million people after the Depression into building the parks and you're talking about the moon and Mars. We have problems here on Earth, right? Right. We could do forward-looking things like employ people in parks and other things. If we don't see the value created in these jobs that are not generating value, like, people need to their labor needs to be reallocated to other sectors and industries and roles that actually do provide value to the rest of society.
I think if you look at, so Elena wants education. I don't disagree with that, but until you solve some of these other problems, I think you can't even think about that. I think what they're complaining about is why are staples so expensive? And if you look at the macro factors in why things are so expensive, that's generated by policy and governments, right?
Yeah.
Tariffs are
Tariffs, one word,
invariably, yeah.
tariffs. That's why
There's
right
yeah.
now.
You're talking about, the United States that has like a $38 trillion, debt. It's incredible, right? And that means that
Yeah.
more taxes have to go to pay the debt off. So and usually what I found is, you've got 3 stratas of people. The really, the influential, wealthy academics are here. You've got this big chunk of middle class, and then you've got a massive amount of people that are underprivileged. And usually the people on top come up with great policy, right, to help the people here, but they charge the middle to pay for it. They don't pay for it. And that's what taxation is. That's what all these policies that they're putting in place that make it untenable for people to live are things they can influence, not giving them $2,000 payouts. That's a bribe, right? You got to like do your math. Like, you could do your job and figure out this economy and figure out how to get certain things down. Mortgage rates are going up, and that's a function that they want to like increase interest rates so they can stem inflation, which is caused by them printing money and throwing money in the economy. So these are not caused by these people. These people are just paying the price for it. It's not cool.
I
And I'm not
wonder,
a
yeah.
socialist.
I wonder, do we have any opinion in our viewers? Please leave a comment. What do you think? Is it like fair that people work and should get some money? Is it fair to get high taxes? Can we involve it, or just the country cannot survive without this finance system if you raise taxation and everything? So please leave a comment.